Let's look for ways to make your garden an inviting oasis, perfect for entertaining, right after this. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. You know, outdoor entertaining is becoming more and more popular. It's a great way to push the boundaries of our home and living space outdoors. And it's a great way to bring all the people you enjoy into the garden. What I like so much is coming up with good ideas that make outdoor entertaining easy, as well as ways to bring the garden indoors, such as combining fresh flowers with candles for a dramatic effect. We'll meet the author of A Candlelit Home, and I'll show you an easy project using candles that will most certainly charm your guests. We'll also look at some must-haves in order to be prepared when last-minute visitors drop in. And if you're remodeling or building, I've got some ideas on creating outdoor kitchens and dining rooms. Now, one place known for hospitality both inside and out is the Biltmore Estate. We'll get a recipe from one of their chefs. But first, let's head off to a Chicago townhouse where we'll take a look at an inviting garden that's centered around outdoor entertaining. That's right after the break, so don't go away. During a visit to Chicago, Kathleen Galome of the Douglas Hare landscape architect firm showed me a garden where the structures surrounding it played an important role in the garden's overall design. So what do we have here, Kathleen?
Alan, I'd like to show you this garden.
Wow, this is beautiful. So often we think that if you live in a big city, you can't have a garden, but that's not true at all.
Not at all. It's amazing how much you can bring the views from inside out, as well as borrow from the other cities.
So this is an extension of the dining room.
Absolutely. I'm always looking for plant material that not only has fabulous texture, but also has, brilliant color. I want something that's going to be hanging over the edges.
I mean, I can see that with these beautiful calibrachoas and the geraniums cascading down, and then you've punctuated it with these osteospermum.
Yeah, these are great plants, vibrant all summer long.
Well, let's have a look at some of the other gardens that surround this beautiful apartment. Kathleen, this is an even better example of how the interior and exterior can relate to one another, mainly because of this picture window.
Exactly. What we tried to do here was integrate the fabric material and colors that we have on the interior with the plant palette on the exterior.
So you've used this basic, simple color theme where you have a range of greens from chartreuse to deep blue, green, and gray.
Exactly.
And then we have that accented with white and purple.
Yeah, it's great color combinations with the Tyrinia bouncing off of the Lysomachia, which is located here, which is a great
golden
trailer.
creeping Jenny.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Of course, this color palette contrasts to the one we just saw off the dining room, and that was all about contrast, lots of different colors, and this is more monochromatic.
Absolutely.
Well, the harmony that this creates really resonates with me. I'm really taken with how the garden rooms surrounding this home are beautifully decorated with both plants and furnishings. Now up next, we'll see how to bring the beauty of the garden indoors by pairing candles with fresh plants and fruits. Stay with us. There are so many ways to bring the spirit of the garden indoors, with all the rich colors and textures that are afforded us through foliage, bloom, and fruit. Now, when you combine all of these elements with the warm glow of candlelight, well, you can create quite a magical mood. If your party is at night, you can really play up this idea of time in the garden by using candles. Candlelight just seems to add magic to any setting. It brings to mind the romantic notions of a bygone era and urges us to make the most of the moment. When I entertain outdoors, I always like to use these low 3-inch candles. They're much better than tapers. They don't drip as badly. And I love using these little votives and all the different shapes and sizes they can come in. But for the candle itself, these little tea candles are ideal. They're wrapped in aluminum, which makes the cleanup so much easier, saving you time. A friend of mine was so captivated by the use of candles in decorating that he wrote a book about creative ways to use candles.
The basis of the book was, of course, candles and flowers, and I think when people decorate their home, they're doing that to show people that they care about them, that they want them to have a good time and be comfortable in their home. So a lot of times, if you're doing a party and you incorporate the candles and the flowers, then you have this magic that really accents the flowers and makes them even more lively. And I love to use fruit with candles too, and with flowers, because it's very inexpensive. You can do a huge bowl of apples or oranges and have a great look with a few magnolia leaves and some candles burning. In experiencing the whole process of doing a book on candles, I realized that, you know, even in the spring of the year, all three of the seasons, actually we laid the book out by the 4 seasons. And you can do wonderful things in your garden in the spring, in your house. You can have a very cooling effect by using a light palette of flowers and a few flickering candles. And of course, then it goes on into the fall and winter, which we're accustomed to. But I think candles don't have a boundary as far as seasons go. Tea lights are wonderful because many times we don't want fragrance candles, and a lot of times you want to accentuate something like a piece of art or just a small area in your room, and you can use massive amounts of them. Now, they are disposable, but very inexpensive. The trends I see in Americans especially is the use of candles has become so frequent. I think the statistics are something like 7 out of 10 families burn candles at least twice a week. So it's not just the birthday, the wedding, the super celebrations that we all enjoy, but a daily life experience, adding to the quality of life.
John Terrell Fry has a lot of great ideas, and after reading his book, I was inspired to create these simple hanging lanterns for my garden. I'll show you how to create these right after the break. Welcome back. I'm Alan Smith. In today's show, we're taking a look at outdoor entertaining and ways to blur the lines between inside and out. Now earlier, we saw that townhouse in Chicago where a landscape designer brought colors used indoors into outdoor living areas. We also met John Terrell Fry and saw his beautiful candle creations. You know, I don't think outdoor entertaining is complete without candles. Now this is a really simple project to make these little lanterns. Let me show you how I put them together. Now, what I started with are just some of these empty fruit jars, and you want the ones that you can screw a lid on because you want that lip for the wire to hang on to. Now let's talk about the wire itself. I like to use a thin wire, it's all you need. What I'm using here is a 19 gauge galvanized steel wire. It's very easy to use. Now for the candles themselves, I like to take a votive candle in a glass holder like this, so I can just slide it into the pint jar. All right, now let's put one of these together. What I like to use is thin, pliable wire. Again, this is 19 gauge wire. Now remember, the thing with wire is that the higher the gauge, the thinner the wire. This is just about perfect. Now what I want is about 22 inches. You'll find that a pair of needle nose pliers really comes in handy. Okay, got that cut. Now it's time to wrap it around the lip of the jar. Now the reason I cut such a long length of wire is that I'm going to wrap the top, and I'm going to use the same piece of wire as the handle. Now let me show you how this works. I just take the wire and I wrap it around the top of the jar like this. There's really nothing to it. You see just enough there where you can fold it over, and you don't want it too tight, and I'll show you why. Because you're going to fold it then over the top of the jar and back over directly across from where you tied it there, and you just slip this wire under the wire that wraps around the top of the jar. You're almost finished. All you have to do now is tighten up each side with the needle nose pliers, then take the candle, drop it in, and then you're ready to go. Now all we have to do is take them outside and hang them in a tree with sturdy branches far enough from the end of the branch so the jar won't slip off in the wind. Now I'm asked all the time, what kind of vegetables and herbs do I grow in my small vegetable garden? Well, you know, the more outdoor entertaining I do, the more important this part of my garden becomes. You see, I like to grow things that can be gathered and used immediately. For instance, in summer, I grow lots of basil and tomatoes. These little pear tomatoes are great in salads. I also grow flowers for cutting in the raised beds of my vegetable garden. Now, it's a lot of fun to send guests out into the garden to gather up what they'll find on the dinner table a little later in the evening. Now, here's a quick and easy salad recipe that you can put together in no time flat. Just take some of those fresh meaty tomatoes and slice them up. Chop up some fresh basil, then lay this mixture over fresh buffalo mozzarella. Sprinkle a bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and presto, you have a simple Italian salad that's as fresh from the garden as you can get. Now, I promised you some ideas if you're remodeling or building. Now, we don't want to forget ways to push the home out into the garden. This is a way to expand your living space. Allowing a dining room to spill out onto a patio is a great way to invite the sights and sounds of nature into the home. You can also create outdoor cooking areas. This family has an elaborate barbecue next to their outdoor hearth room. And certainly, another aspect of outdoor entertaining is that you want to keep comfort in mind. A pergola over this dining area provides shade, and comfortable tables and chairs help you while away the hours. All right, now this is the time in the show where we stop to hear what you, the viewer, have to say. Now, in this letter from Hayward, Wisconsin, Mary writes, "My daffodils this spring didn't produce nearly as many flowers. Why? The weather was colder than usual and damp. They produced all foliage but no flower buds." Well, Mary, I love daffodils as well. And there's some things that you can do that will ensure lots of blooms in years to come. Why don't we take a look at those? First of all, you want to make sure that your daffodils are getting plenty of sun. They'll tolerate some partial shade, but I consider 6 hours of direct sun a minimum. Now, if your daffodils have been around for a while and the clumps are rather old, it might be time to dig them and divide the clumps. I always try to work in a generous amount of compost or peat moss and bone meal, usually about 2 to 3 tablespoons of bone meal per bulb. When I plant, I like to group the bulbs in clumps of around 15 bulbs, placing them 6 to 8 inches apart. Now, I'm often asked, how deep do you plant these? Well, a good rule of thumb is to plant them at a depth 3 times the width of the bulb. So if your daffodils are in too much shade, or they need to be divided, or you've planted them too deep, they may produce more foliage than bloom. Now, another thing to keep in mind is don't cut the foliage back too soon. Wait at least 8 weeks after the flower fades, or just let the foliage die back naturally. You see, it's that foliage that reinvigorates the bulb. Now, one last tip on daffodils. If you want to transplant them to a new location, I always like to do it as soon as the flower fades. I just dig down, lift up the entire clump, and move it to a new location. There are more great plants listed on my website. That's pallansmith.com. Not only do we have an extensive search engine, but each week in our newsletter, we post a sampling of questions from viewers just like you, as well as my answers. We're almost to the end of the show, but I promise you don't want to miss this great recipe from the Biltmore. That's next, so don't go away.
Today we're going to make a spinach salad with spiced pecans, strawberries, shaved red onion, crumbled blue cheese, and a red and white vinaigrette. So first we're going to make the pecans. The first thing you need are, well, everything that you will need will be pecans, granulated garlic, granulated onion, kosher salt or iodized salt, cinnamon and cayenne pepper, and 1 egg white. And first you're going to take your egg white, and we're going to whip that. Once they start to foam, like that's probably good there. You just stop. And we don't need quite a whole egg white, so I'm actually going to dump about half of it out. If you have too much, your sugar will clump. So now you just add your pecans and you just want to toss them around. So once they're evenly coated, which this is good, you're going to put them to the side and make your sugar mixture. Here I've got about 4 cups of sugar, and we're going to add everything that I mentioned earlier into the sugar. And then we're just going to mix that around. Put your hand in there. You're just going to add your pecans. Okay, once they look like they're well coated, you're just going to sift off any extra sugar. You want to put them onto a greased sheet pan, and then just make sure you spread them out a little bit. You want to put them in a 350-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. And while those are cooking, you can make your vinaigrette. This is a red wine and white wine vinaigrette, and it's kind of a sweet vinaigrette. And you want to add your dry ingredients before you add your oil because it won't dissolve in oil. Your honey and your Dijon are your emulsifying agents that'll hold it together so it won't separate. And then you want to slowly add your oil. I've got about 4 cups of olive oil here. For the salad, I'll pull that back so you can see. I've got baby spinach, which has already been washed. And then I've got green leaf lettuce that I'm going to use to make the bouquet here. And I just take a handful of the spinach and put it inside the green leaf. And then I have shaved red onions here that I've already sliced. And then I'm going to roll it. And I'm going to use that to hold on to the bouquet. And then you're going to slide your onion over the end of it. And if you need to make it tighter at this point, just squeeze down at the bottom because this lip is going to overhang. Now you're going to slide your onion on and just slide it up. Doesn't need to be tight. It'll open back up. And that's all there is to it. So we'll put our bouquet down. And just sprinkle some strawberries around. As you can see, I've done a strawberry fan, and then I've also sliced strawberries and put them on the top. And by now our pecans should be ready. And this is how they should look when they come out of the oven. Drizzle it with the dressing whenever you're ready to serve. I mean, you can make it a few hours in advance. And there you have it.
A great companion to P. Allen Smith Gardens is our website, pallensmith.com. Log on to learn more about today's topic. You'll also get hands-on gardening tips, design ideas, lessons in garden history, delicious recipes, and crafts projects that will take you from season to season, all beautifully illustrated with thousands of colorful images that will inspire your creativity. Plus, don't miss Allen's free weekly newsletter delivered straight to your inbox, all just a mouse click away at pallensmith.com.
Well, I have to say, I really get into outdoor entertaining in all seasons. Well, that's it for today's show. But one last thing, just remember, any of the recipes and ideas you've seen in today's show can be found on my website. It's pallensmith.com. Until next time we're together, from the garden, I'm Allen Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.